Hello and welcome to He Say She Say Family Coach Live. I am your host, attorney mediator Char, founder of Law for Love, the most special place in the legal system in Atlanta, where we just do some amazing and creative work integrating the power of law from many different disciplines to bring these solutions, these insights, this perspective. Look, 99% of life is perspective. The way that you look at a situation has a lot to do with the way that you're going to um, deal with it. And so we are offering lots and lots of perspective because the gender wars, we're not having that over here at Law for Love. This is the place where the gender wars stop. So peace and blessings to everyone. Brother Fast Nickel, Brother Walt, Auntie Thank Ya Now, Sister Coco G, welcome. Sister Nayuzeki, welcome. Sister Princess, I appreciate all of you for your support of this channel and the work that we're doing here at Law for Love. It's an incredible opportunity and blessing to be in a position to kind of like take what has been happening behind the scenes, where people are kind of feeling hidden, alone, they by themselves, nobody else can relate with them, and kind of bring it out into the open. Hold on just a second. I'm trying to get this back up. I was trying to take off the branding just in case it was going to get in the way of the presentation, but thank you all for supporting. The work that we do is so unique and so different that I'm literally in a community education space. You will be surprised how many people really don't understand what mediation is. They don't know how it works. If you've not been through a lawsuit before, then you mostly don't know what mediation is or what the power of mediation is. And so here at Law for Love and He Say She Say live on Monday nights, we're having conversations where we're bringing male perspective, we're bringing female perspective, we're talking about things that are coming in through the door here at Law for Love to help strengthen the Black community, help strengthen our families. That's where the community begins. It begins with man and wife and the promise that they made. And so we're going to continue the conversation from last week about the business of marriage. I have been hearing from a number of people behind the scenes about this topic. So we're just going to continue to go with this. And it is super duper fun, to say the least, building out the actual course. We take a really deep dive inside of our incubator, which is a small intimate group for supporting marriages. And I can't tell you how much all of this has been coming together from these different vantage points. So tonight, let's jump in and talk about how to agree to a shared mission in your marriage business. Last week, we talked about the definition of a business being a partnership, some type of enterprise, right? Here we're talking about marriage, a partnership that is combined together for some type of mutual benefit or concern. There's a reason. And we talked a little bit about profitability from the standpoint of productivity, be fruitful and multiply, not just have a lot of babies, but accomplish something together. And this, I am telling you, with 100% of failed enterprises, failed marriages that end up in divorce, I have never seen one where there was a shared mission between the husband and wife. They were kind of floating around. Whatever happens. I make you happy, you make me happy. And one day we look up and we're ready to kill each other because there was no business plan, right? So that's what we're talking about here. And it's about figuring out, y'all, the way that StreamYard did my presentation where I can't see what the screen says is this not gonna work. Hold on just a second. Let me grab this in another in my Windows application because StreamYard scrunched up my stuff and I can't see what that slide says. Okay, it says starting a business for getting back on track. And step one is determining the reason for being in business or being in marriage. What is the reason why you are married? We're here helping families get back on track because somewhere the purpose or the reason was about you make me happy, I make you happy. 99% of marriages that I interface with in my work, the purpose is somebody want to be happy. And how do you define happiness? And where are you taking the time to, collaborate with one another and figure out, well, what does happiness look like for you? What does happiness look like for you? How does happiness live beyond our lifetime? And I touched on that a little bit last week. Finding that definition of happiness that lives beyond the lifetime. So, what is the purpose of marriage? My question and my challenge to anyone who is joining us for this conversation, I want you to explore your individual motivations. What was your intention when you got married? Is marriage about you? And I know that sounds like an obvious question, but I can't tell you how many people come into a marriage and it is all about them and what the other person could do for them. Is it about your feelings and how this person makes you feel? Or is your marriage about your partner? Hey, look, a lot of people get married and they completely sacrifice their own identity for the love and acceptance of another person or what that person is feeling. I see people self-destructing. I've even been in the shoes of a person who lost my identity looking to make someone else happy. Is the purpose of your marriage for you to feel good or to make your husband or your wife feel good? Is that the purpose? And I don't think that most people who haven't been thinking about this already, even if you're already married, I don't know how much conscious thought we give to this. A lot of us were set on a path like, look, what you do, you go to school, you get your degree, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. Like, it's kind of like one of those checklist things. And the purpose of marriage is it only about having kids? What about when the kids are grown and gone? Is the purpose of marriage so that you won't be by yourself? I mean, how many people are looking to find a partner because really they are just afraid of being alone, living alone? Is that what your motivation is? Somebody to keep you company? And look, I'm gonna poke at the old folk a little bit. I've seen people get divorced and they're a little older and they know how much work is involved in marriage. And they're like, look, I don't want to get married again. But I don't mind having a friend to keep me company from time to time. Like the old folks, yeah, the company keepers. Like the old folks who done kind of been there, done that. They're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to get married again, but I don't mind me a little company from time to time. Marriage is basically supposed to be each person trying to outdo the other one in love. Well, this is great conceptually, but how do we define love? What is that? What is love? Marriage for me, when entering it, was for support in building a future. Doing it alone is hard. Absolutely. How do we define the future? What does that look like? See, my purpose here today is not necessarily to get the answers to these questions, but really just to provoke you into taking a deeper dive and seeing what's beyond what the initial motivations were for many of us when we got married. Show enough. Love is putting your spouse before yourself. To what end? Put your spouse before yourself to what end? I see a lot of people put their spouse before themselves and they're dying, feeling neglected, unseen, unheard, and unvalued, undervalued, unappreciated. So I'm hoping really more than anything to trigger some peace and blessings. Welcome. Welcome to the conversation. You say, what's this? To the end. Well, put your spouse before yourself until the end. That was the Uncle Walter definition of love. Well, let's continue to talk about it. My job here is to provoke you into thinking beyond this lifetime. It should be restricted. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about what are the bounds, what are the boundaries, what are the limits? How are we defining love? Love is a mindset, absolutely is. How do we measure the evidence, right? And so this is why we're comparing it to business, because when you are talking about business, you have to get into the particulars. Now, mind you, particulars is a word that we talk about a lot in international business. Now that we're doing a lot of business on the continent of Africa, that is the legal term used in several nations. They call it the particulars. What are the specifics? What is the purpose of the business? How does the business plan to create a profit? Who are the interested persons involved in this endeavor? These are called the particulars in some of our African nations. So let's keep going. So when you're setting up a business, right? This is me perspective to the conversation of marriage. When you are operating a business, one of the first things you're advised to do by anyone who's a business consultant or a business coach is for you to develop a mission statement. Like, this is the work that you start doing when you start cooking up an idea that you want to start a business. Before you go register your business with the state, before you go open a bank account, before you get yourself a tax ID number for your business, or you design your logo, you want to start a mission statement. And all it is an official document or statement that sets out the goals, purpose, and work of the business. It's also considered a written statement that sets out the personal goals for the future. So these both equally apply. One speaks more specifically to an individual and their personal goals, and the other one talks about a business. Well, I'm talking about both here when I'm talking about the business of marriage. Some people who are planners, they may have sat down and had a conversation with their husband or wife to be and had this conversation about a mission statement. The first biblical principle that I think of when I think about a mission statement and the way that it is defined in the first definition as an official document, well, the biblical principle comes from the prophetic utterance: write the vision down and make it plain. How many of us have gone through the process of writing down a vision for the marriage? Because this vision statement is supposed to be pointing to the goal. Y'all remind me next week. I'm not gonna let StreamYard do my PowerPoint because it done crunched up and smushed up my stuff. But this slide is about the goal. What is the goal of our marriage? That we leave this legacy for our children and grandchildren. The biblical principle here with respect to a goal is that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. For me, going back to the ancient paths is finding what are the ancient principles that help us identify how to define these things for our marriages. The mission statement was designed as a shared purpose, the official statement of the purpose. And I submit to you that the purpose of your marriage is not your happiness. I'm sorry, it is not. And that is why so many corporate failures exist in the family courts today. If the purpose of your marriage is for your happiness, your marriage will result in heartbreak. This is the exact opposite of what we were all conditioned to believe about romantic love that we talked about last week. Romantic love is going to set you up for a fail. So if that is your purpose for getting married, then prepare yourself for a roller coaster ride that ends in heartbreak. The purpose or the ancient path is to be fruitful and to multiply, to leave generational legacy. And we are not always thinking when we get married what this marriage is going to teach our children and grandchildren about life, about commitment, about loyalty, about personal growth and development, about endurance. We don't think about that stuff. We think about the feel good. For legacy building, what do you do if your marriage never produces children? How does the legacy building get passed on? This is a great question because there's also precedent in the scripture concerning women who do not have natural born children having many children spiritually. I don't know about anyone else here, but even I have spiritual children. Children who I did not give birth to, who value my insight and me fussing at them as much as, if not more than, my own natural born children. Part of my legacy is pouring into, I think I shared with you in one episode, I don't have daughters. I got a daughter spiritually. I don't, let me be careful when I say this, because the church world, they do that spiritual mama, spiritual daddy, and spiritual children stuff. I don't care for that. So when I say daughter, I don't call her daughter and she don't call me mom because we don't roll like that. But I see her as one in the next generation who I can pour into to carry on the things that I am depositing into her and I'm nurturing in her in the way that I am nurturing her gift and her calling and discipling her. See, when we look at the pattern of Yahusha's life, he didn't have any natural born children, yet he discipled 12, who discipled many, who multiplied the way of the book. This is the purpose. It's discipleship. And in today's culture, we have more and more marriages going it alone. Everybody kind of in their house behind their closed doors, going through whatever they got going on. And this is not to say or suggest or to recommend at all anybody putting all their business in the street. But there should be discipleship in every area of our lives. We should be discipling others in whatever your profession or your career is. You have a certain kind of skill set. You should be looking to see who can you train up to pour into so that they can become expert even more than you attained in your career. When it comes to anything that I just think about, like even people who have a gift of like cooking. Who is your apprentice? Who are you pouring that insight into? Like I didn't know until somebody said it that you're not supposed to cook with sesame oil. Like, how do we even know these things unless people are being discipled? And we're now in a generation where people are being discipled by YouTube. Our children are being raised by YouTube. They don't see parents who are dealing with their stuff. They realize they need some help. They're trying to get healed from their trauma, get free. They're not being discipled, and we're letting the algorithm raise them. Discipleship is a major purpose of marriage. And again, when I speak to some cultures, and quite frankly, Indians, Indians disciple their marriages. That's why you don't see divorce in their community like you see in everybody else's community. When you see Indians moving in the community, notice that you never see one person walking alone. They always travel in twos. And if you see a husband and a wife out and about, you will see another husband and wife with them. They do life together and they disciple their marriages. So when craziness pop off in an Indian marriage, they hop on the phone with another married couple and they hash that thing out behind closed doors, and they understand they're not by themselves in their marriage struggles. I got to grab your comments this way because I can't always see them. Who are you allowing to mentor and disciple you? My life coach has been married for 32 years, 42 years. That's who disciples my marriage. Did I catch the last one? So that's my little rant about discipleship. And yes, my life coach, Gail, and if anybody ever wanted to work with her because of her the amount of miles that she and her husband have journeyed through together as a couple, Gail has done so much work for me and my husband in helping us to realize we were not crazy for wanting to kill each other, and helping us to get through that hump and recognize how we were operating out of some very childish and selfish things. So, purpose. And then going back to the definition of the mission statement, what is the work of your marriage? What are you doing? What are you working? What are you producing? What are you making fruitful? What are you multiplying during your lifetime that will endure beyond your lifetime? So, how do you agree? Right? The topic of this conversation is how do you agree to a shared mission? Looking at the definition of agree, it is the same views, emotions, or a harmonizing of opinions or feelings, but it's getting the same. And I am pulling up definitions because we do take for granted a lot of times that we have the same understanding. We don't live in a culture today where we always define things before we dive in. And you might assume that this word has a certain meaning, and I assume it has a different meaning, and then we think we're talking about the same thing and we're not. This is what's happening in marriages. I recently had someone tell me I didn't even need to have to say anything to my spouse because I already know what they're thinking. Well, guess what? If you already know what somebody else thinking, well, that removes the incentive for y'all to talk. And now you're wondering why y'all stopped talking. And now you're wondering why you're working with the divorce attorney, because you knew what they were thinking. This is what happens in our marriages when we don't take the time to get on the same page. So to agree is to be the same views, same feelings. Now, here's the part where I'm about to aggravate you and I'm about to really upset you. Do you first agree with yourself? I cannot tell you how many times I am interfacing with people who are in so much conflict within themselves, and they're looking to make agreement in life with somebody else. But you don't even agree with your own self. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but the law for love principle number 1, that's what I call it. How can I tell you the truth when I don't even tell me the truth? How can I keep it real with you when I don't keep it real with me? We gotta start with numero uno. You got to have a team meeting with yourself. This is how you build agreement in marriage. Why? Because you have to resolve self-conflict. A lot of times, and I am gonna hone in on the ladies on this one, because I see it more often with women than with men in my line of work. A lot of times we become who we think our husband wants us to be. And this is the number 1 cause of internal conflict, because you don't even recognize yourself anymore when you look in the mirror. You are trying to live to make someone else happy. That's why we had to start with the question, well, is the purpose me making somebody else happy? I gotta figure out a way for you to accept me. I gotta figure out a way for you not to reject me. So now I gotta pretend to be what I think you like. And what happens when you have self-conflict? Now, I'm so mad that this slide is not showing. Let me stop this here and pull it up on the presentation, because this one right here is a very important slide for some context and for some understanding, especially for wives. I'm not saying that men do not struggle with self-conflict the same way that we do. I'm just honing in on how much I'm seeing it with the ladies. So if you just give me one quick moment, I need to get us to this slide, because StreamYard tried me. And I don't like how it's looking when I'm using StreamYard to share it. So let me just find it here. Maybe I'll try it with Google Slides. I don't know. I'll play around with it, y'all. I'm going to get better. I promise. All right. I want to share the window that has the slideshow. I think this is it. I'm hoping y'all see the slideshow. If you see the slideshow, can you please comment 1 that you can see the slideshow? Appreciate it. Thank you so much. I need to get to this slide right here, because ladies, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm hearing men say when they're working through conflict in their marriage. They just want peace. The men are coming in and saying they want peace. But the challenge with this is that our men have been conditioned, if you just make her happy, then she will give you peace. So I want us to see here that the men are saying, I just want peace. I want peace in my house. But the women are saying, he think he gonna make me happy by giving me advice. I didn't ask him for his advice. I did not ask him for his advice. And so the men are looking and they just want some peace. Please Can I have peace? That's all they want. That's all they want. That's like nearly 100% across the board. I hear the men saying, I just want peace. Now they're coming to their wives because they want peace, and they're saying, well, why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do that? Or why don't you try to Men, women, we don't want that if we didn't ask you for your advice. When we come home and we're on a rant and just kind of getting something off our chest, or just like retelling the day or something that happened, and you hop in and you just want to fix it, like, that's annoying. And no woman wants to feel like her man is her therapist or her counselor. She wants her man to be her man. And giving unsolicited advice is not going to give you the peace that you're looking for. But here's the issue. I have to give kudos to the husbands, because a lot of times the husbands see, my wife is not happy, and if she would just do this, then maybe it'll make her happy. They're real, like, looking at it very, very practically. And most of the time when I've heard men share with me the advice that they were giving their wife about a certain situation, most of the time the men are spot on. Like, they nail it. Like, all she got to do is this. Very, very practical. But the reason why I'm dialing in on the wives is because we have to get more focused on resolving our self-conflict. Husband might be looking at the obvious thing on the outside because you are trying to make him happy or be a version of yourself that you think he won't, or that he will accept, or that he will be with. But you have forgotten what you look like. You have forgotten what you like. You have forgotten your own flavor of life that you bring. You done set up here and completely lost yourself and your own identity in this marriage. And marriage does not require you to lose yourself. When you get married, I hate the saying that someone is your better half. You ain't walking around here as half a person before you get married. What you want to be is a whole person who knows who you are. You know your creator. You know you were created in his image. You understand his purpose for your life. You're confident in that. And you are matching yourself up with someone else who has a complementary purpose on their life. So y'all could get some business done as a couple. So y'all could stand on business. And ladies, we have some opportunities here, because a lot of times we're coming in and we know who we are, and we see the stuff about our man that we really don't like, but we just go ahead and plan on changing him. We plan on changing him. And men become frustrated because they marry a version of a woman that they thought was really her, and then can't understand why she's changing. Well, she's changing because she was trying to be accepted and embraced by you. And now you got to find out 20 years later who she really is. I'm trying to click on the screen like I'm still in the StreamYard. That was funny. So I wanted to play a little legal mathematics with y'all. And yes, I'm still talking about agreement. But we first got to talk about peace and conflict. They are opposing forces. Men want peace. And you will never get peace if your wife has internal conflict that she's wrestling with and you have no idea what it is. They are opposing forces. Conflict is the evidence that there is strife or conflict. And I will say this, that anytime a person has internal conflict, they cannot live in peace with you. The strife that is already spiritually operating in their conflicted soul, mind, and emotions, they are going to bring it into this marriage, bring it into the house, bring it into the room where you are trying to enjoy some peace and quiet because they are in strife and they don't know how to get out of strife. Never go into a marriage trying to change someone. That is just a disaster waiting to happen. Hands down. Everybody has the right to be themselves. You don't get to change nobody. And definitely don't try to change who you are, trying to fit into a mold so that you don't be alone. Because you're going to end up frustrated. You're going to end up in strife. You're going to end up in conflict. And this man is not going to get the peace he wants. Now, yes, I am speaking directly to women on this one. He's not going to get the peace he wants because you're not even yourself. And therefore, it is only when we resolve strife that we conduct peace, we master peace, we carry peace, we bring peace into the room with us, we operate in peace, we flow in peace. Our peace remains with us and it cannot be moved when I am one with myself. When I am one with myself. So I'm going to share a funny story with you, y'all, because I'm here to keep it real. I'm here to tell the truth, and I'm here to share my life as a part of my discipleship to these younger folks out here. They out here struggling. They're asking, why aren't the baby boomers and Generation X teaching us how to be married? Tell y'all this funny story. So I'm from Miami, right? Obviously, I didn't come from a family that was, silver spoon family. My folks they grew up poor and they were, hardworking folks. Dad worked for the county, mom worked for the post office. They came from nothing and they did everything they could to give me and my brother things that they did not have in their childhood, and they had it rough. Well, my husband's upbringing was a little different than mine. And he was from DC and I'm from Miami, where I guess to the DC, the person who's from north or the South, people from the South sound ghetto. And he used to tease me about that. And it made me feel some kind of way. It used to hurt my feelings. And his little joke, this was a little joke, that he took me out of the ghetto. He took me out of the ghetto and changed my life. So funny little joke that he had. But when we would get into disagreements and I would get loud, he would call me ghetto. And it would always make me back down because I'm like, I felt the shame of that, like that you thought I was ghetto. Y'all, when I started my healing journey for real, the last time my husband ever fixed his mouth to call me ghetto in an argument, I owned it. You called me ghetto in the middle of a fight, and I turned and I stood and I said to him, I said, well, dang, my name's Char. Yes, I'm ghetto. Now what? Now what? Like, we never had that problem again. Sir, you married a woman named Char. What were you thinking? Did you not think that she was gonna go quiche on you sometimes? Did you think that was just gonna disappear because you shamed me? No, you can't change nobody. And so we have to understand that even the things about ourselves that we might not be the most proud of or whatever, it's like, just because I'm married to you now don't mean that my past is not my past anymore. I am who I am. Even in the work that I do, I work with people from all walks of life, y'all. And it's like the more honest I am about myself, the more my clients respect me because they know what side my bread buttered on. I don't have to run away from the fact that I speak the way that I speak. I'm is who I'm is. And I give that same exact counseling advice to, I don't care where you're from, what you look like, what your skin color is, what your background is, what your social economics is. I speak to everybody the same because I can only give you who I am. And that's an attitude that we have to cultivate when we are coming into a marriage. We don't change. Our essence doesn't change. Yes, you can modify your behavior. You could do some personal development. Just because you unforgiving and bitter now doesn't mean you have to stay that way. Those are things that you can work on. But your being, who you are, what your background is, where you come from, the way you speak, the way you look, like that, those are immutable characteristics unless you just gonna stop being yourself. And when you are in a marriage, you're not coming in saying, well, you just gonna have to love me how I am. When this comes down to behaviors that you can learn how to, do things a little better. So yes, I used to get loud in our conflicts. I started getting loud. I started yelling and screaming because that was getting us nowhere. But the strength to stop yelling and screaming came from me accepting that I am ghetto. Whatever that means in your heart and your mind, why you call me ghetto, the way that I sound, that's who I am. Yes, I could bring my tone down. No, I don't have to get loud. Yes, we could take a time out. But I'm not going to stop being me. And it was that oneness with myself, that acceptance of myself, that confirmation of who I am that finally brought peace, where I no longer, it's been years since that incident happened, because I got that security in myself and I resolved that conflict in myself, that there was nothing for me to be ashamed of about where I'm from and how I speak. We all want peace. I know I was speaking specifically about men wanting peace because men are so simple when it comes to their desire for peace and how they pursue peace. Women, we tend to be a little bit more complex and complicated because we're afraid sometimes, because not many of us have really been recipients of unconditional love. And the way that my life coach puts it, her little famous saying, she says, warts, thorns, horns, and all. When she talks about acceptance and love, warts, thorns, horns, and all. Many of us have not experienced that kind of love. That's why discipleship is so important, so that we have experiences with other people who accept us just for who we is. Nobody expecting you to be anything different, more or less than who you are and what you bring to the table. And when we get serious about accepting ourselves, ladies, and yes, this does apply to the men too. But when we get real honest about accepting ourselves, and when we learn how to love ourselves by first telling us the truth about ourselves, this is where the peace comes. Because truth is the key. See, we want this agreement with everybody else before we telling us the truth. But we first have to unlock that door that's going to allow us to dream our dreams and tell ourselves the truth and embrace ourselves the way that we were made in our Father's image and for his purposes. And that's where the confidence to be yourself and to come in and advocate for yourself in your marriage, it begins there, being honest with yourself. So have you resolved your internal conflict? And this is for everybody. Because once you get super clear and accepting of who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your opportunities are for growth, where your blind spots are, where your partner can help you navigate your path in life, because they can help you see what you can't see. That's when you can begin to dream with clarity and begin to share your dreams with one another. And that's what I have for you this week, y'all. Just a set of perspective and challenge. What you got here, sis? Seeing a therapist and having to face myself was not easy. I'm blessed that I have a spouse that gave me that time to grow. Same goes of him after he saw a therapist. I'm so glad you said that. I was talking to one of the husbands here at Law for Love who began taking a very serious therapeutic journey after decades of just, he's from that generation where therapy was for crazy folk. And he said something really powerful to me as well. And I'm glad that this is changing for us. He said, a lot of why I didn't want to go to therapy was because I didn't trust white people. And most of the therapists were white. And in this generation now, this husband is from the boomer generation. We now have more and more men and women in therapeutic spaces that look like us, who you don't have to explain our struggle with in detail. I had a Black attorney say to me once, she said she was frustrated with her therapist because she felt like half of the session was being spent on her explaining the Black perspective. It's like she wasn't really getting the connection that she needed from her therapist before they started, diving into the therapeutic approach. But it's getting better for us, y'all. When it comes to men and women working in these professional spaces, being the best you requires resolving your own internal conflicts. Projecting your internal conflicts onto your spouse will only further drive a wedge in the marriage. Yes. You getting mad at somebody for rejecting you when you rejecting yourself. You getting mad at the other person for not embracing you when you're not embracing yourself. You want somebody else to love you and you don't love yourself. I mean, that math is not mathing. And we have been taught to cover things up and to hide things. Put a lace front on it, drop some foundation on it, put on 3 or 4 of them little body shaper things that pack all your sausage so nobody could see it. Hiding. Then you get married and you can't hide but so much. Then you start fights to keep from being exposed. Men and women do it. Anybody get too close to your stuff, you start swinging and picking fights. So this is step 1 to us finding agreement in our marriage. Of course, I hope that the comments, the conversation tonight blesses and encourages you to do that deeper work that we all are on a journey of doing. Self-exploration it's like the layer of onions. You cut off one layer and there's another layer to go. And you're not going to get to the deeper layers until you do it with the outer layers, the more obvious layers. And that's how healing is. It's a journey. It's layered. It's one season and then the next is having some tough conversations, telling you the truth even when it hurts. And then When you get to that place, you find that connecting with your husband or your wife is so much more fulfilling because you're bringing you to the party. And that's the fulfillment I believe each and every one of us are looking for when we're getting married. We want to feel connected and we want to have a sense of direction. But marriage is not a magic pill that's just going to magically make all of your fears of being rejected or abandoned go away. So again, thank you for joining me for He Say, She Say Family Coach Live. Here at Law for Love, where the gender wars stop, we are building stronger communities for Black folks by building stronger families, beginning with our marriages. And I am honored and blessed to serve you in this space. If you gain anything from this, please like, share, and subscribe. Consider sharing with a family member who might be struggling. Don't really want to talk about it. Y'all know Black folks don't like nobody in our business. But we are here committed to discipling marriages. I am so committed to helping and teaching our people to stay up out these people's court system. It is not designed for us. It does not benefit us. It is no place for us. And that's what we own over here at Law for Love. So with that, y'all, may the Most High bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you. And I look forward to seeing you next Monday.